So this is the Kingfisher Sprint 2 review. This sprint lasted for 3 weeks, ranging from April 10th to April 28th. So as part of the planning session, one of the things we had talked about was to start doing retrospective reviews or comments on the story burn down rate. So as you guys are going through your deliverables and accomplishments for this sprint, if you can help us better understand kind of the burn down rate. And I can definitely bring up JIRA and our burn down charts for the various scrums. We want to take a look at that later. Okay, so let's get started on platform. Jordan?
Yeah, so this sprint was really about two things, improving the performance of the resource store and fixing HA issues. A lot of what you see here is fixes for transactions, which turned out to be a lot bigger task than I thought it would be. And one of the things I noted about burn down is those things were sort of slow to work their way through the review process, just because a lot of patches were dependent on previous patches, so there's still some things waiting basically to be reviewed. Also, the HA issues are difficult to estimate just because they're hard to reproduce, and so I was sort of adding tasks as we went along and doing those. So.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. Web UI, Simon?
Yeah, hi. The basic issue that we had was really underestimating the complexity of a couple of the tasks. In the lower portion of the slide, I've emboldened the two line items. It was basically capturing data in the network configuration and attaching them as annotations to elements in the store. I was not as fully conversant with how things should have been done, and so there was a lot of learning on my side before I was able to complete that item, which is why you see a long flat bar on our burn down. But other than that, we got most of the way through our items. So yeah, it was basically underestimation.
Okay, and I don't want folks to just focus on kind of the retrospective. I mean, definitely highlight the accomplishments too, right?
Sure. Yeah, so we have got some retrofitting of behaviors that in the topology view. So the classic topology view now has kind of like better scaling behavior and so on. And we're certainly working towards getting traffic data being visualized in the new topology view. And we'll definitely be able to get that done by the end of the release. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Deployment?
Yeah, I guess this is a mix of different working groups. So the first one is essentially the work that Jordan, I guess, described here. Or anyway, Jordan is working a lot on this. Of course, it got a little bit deprioritized compared to the HA bug, but he's working a lot on that. There are some patches that are waiting to be merged from the Jordi, from Jean. Some are there, some he's waiting for help on back. He's stuck with back. But we're close to the end. And then bandwidth allocation in BPLS, that is waiting for the new resource manager transaction API for updates. Pierre is working from Italy on design a mechanism for handling meters. This is not trivial at all. It's quite a big design that layers, so he's working on that. VPLS application refactory, he did an amazing job. We have like a patch that is like 5,000 lines, but it's amazing. I mean, it's a really completely different application. So we did already a couple of sessions of review together. By the way, now code coverage is like 90%. I mean, very happy with that. So we need just to do the final reviews and merge it. So more stuff just related to meters was merged, and some stuff related to the Corsa pipeline that Andrea helped along with the guys of Giant. I don't know, do you want to add something more? You did a bunch of work here.
We have people testing new APIs in NCTU and
in Giant.
Yeah. And they are helping us review it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think on VPLS for reviews we are absolutely fine. They are coming. We can manage them inside the group. Yeah, we'll talk about more stuff in the Northbound Brigade context. That's it here.
Okay, any comments in terms of burn down and dependencies?
I think we are in good shape, especially, well, again, we'll talk more about other stuff in the Northbound Brigade, but also there I don't see big issues now that Brian reviewed some important stuff. So we know what to do, we know how to move forward. I guess we are in quite in good shape.
Okay.
Well, the only dependency, as I said, is the resource manager, but I know Jordan is working very hard on that, and he has, of course, that's understandable. He has a higher priorities like the HA bug, so it's important we solve that first, and then we do also this. It's fine, absolutely fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luca. Packet-Optical?
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so quite a lot of smaller tickets were tackled during this sprint. Lots of bug fixes you'll see from the list that was done. One has to do with the path routing, another one with NETCONF devices not honoring the spec, or not supporting the full spec, and ONOS having to deal with that. A kind of sanitization of device config. And then in terms of the things that are under review, again, a couple of bug fixes. I think the only one that is worth mentioning is the last one, is where we basically we've done our part. The driver software is all done, but we hit a bug in the I guess device agent, and so we'll keep this one under review until we can fully test it, and that probably means a couple of months before the vendor can address the bug. Then the things that are still in progress, and that's kind of the it relates to the retrospective comment. So one thing is on track, so I don't think that has affected our burn down chart. The other thing, so the open ROADM support. So it turns out that the ticket I had open was just one tiny piece of the whole model, while I'm actually very close to completing all of the tasks. So even though we may be a little bit behind now on the actual work completed, I think we'll be able to close, once I get this done, and it might be today, close a whole bunch of other tickets. So in a way, I guess I underestimated the work, even though it doesn't look like it right now. And I think that's about it. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
So Mark, sorry, just one quick question. The K-short path is something we use also at the packet layer, or?
Yeah, of course, this is the topology service, right?
Because I saw lots of discussion. We should take it offline more. I want to understand more, because Yeah, I don't understand. I know you guys are doing a lot of stuff regarding, you know, the protection part and then the cache-shorted part. So I was wondering how these affect also the packet layer, or if it was more something related to the optical layer.
Yeah, we should take this offline, but yeah, basically there is a behavior to calculate protected, well, a pair of disjoint paths.
Yeah.
That in itself relies on the topology or the PCE kind of component that does case shortest path.
Yeah.
And this can be deployed or used both in optical or in packet layer. That's completely, you know, generic or abstract.
Yeah, I see.
But we can talk more some other time.
Cool, thanks.
Okay.
Virtualization? Yes, sir.
Okay. Hi, I'm Yuza. So in this sprint, we accepted 12 issues, but among them we done 4 commit was merged in progress 5 and 3. Among 5 in progress commit tickets, 3 tickets are in waiting for merger review, and 2 are in progress. And you know that the done and in progress is just a 9, but we accepted 12. Other 3 are kind of untrackable things. So there is the members there is no update and no issues. So I cannot track the status, but definitely there is not updated on the Garrett. So yeah, maybe it's I'm not sure. I have to confirm that what happened and what is the status. So I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I will update about that on next sprint standard session. And but in the done, maybe you can find out the 5. So one of the comments will come from the last sprint, so but they're merged in this sprint. So yeah, so the number is a little bit unmatched. And also the something during this sprint we found newly found some blockers. So to solve that kind of the problem, our schedule is a little bit delayed, but we will do so. We'll keep track our schedule in best. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thanks, Nissen. Dynamic configuration. I'm not sure if the team is on break after ONS. I haven't seen updates in Jira.
Yeah, I was hoping that they were going to update this and participate in updating the progress at least. I know that there were some changes that went in with respect to severing the dependency on ONOS API and also on the config subsystem, because there were some runtime dependencies by the generated artifacts on ONOS and on the config subsystem specifically as well. And they severed those, so that's good. But I don't know beyond that what other fixes there were done. So it would have been good to have their information.
Okay, thanks, Thomas. Northbound Brigade.
You want to talk a little bit about that? Sorry. Oh, okay. Again, lots of work from me. This is what started this work when he came here. So it was non-trivial stuff, right? He designed a new flow objective compiler for the link collection intent that manages always flow objectives, also with groups, and it's more complex to say compiler. It improved the intent installer, always for flow objectives. and then 2 bug fix. Yes, essentially. So now he redesigned the current intent installer, and we are going to implement it.
Yeah. Also I will do some modification. Also, I'll do some modification of the OPD pipeline, and now I'm working with Charles and Saurabh to do some modification that the OPD pipeline can work with intent framework. So now in progress. Yeah, so very high level to keep everyone on the same page on our goal, right? That hopefully is very close to having results. The goal is always to make the OFDPA pipeline compatible with the intent framework. We claim we can control white box switches, but the intent framework cannot today, right? To do that, we need to do lots of modifications at different layers of ONOS. So just one effect of this is that we can run ONOS and BPLS directly on the switch, on the white box switch, which is cool, but that's just one effect. The bigger thing is that the intent framework works with those switches. So it's very close. That's it, I guess. And also here we are not blocked for the moment because those 4 main patches have been reviewed and merged, thanks to Brian. And I guess we'll let you know when we have more important modifications in Garrett.
Okay, thanks, Luca. I didn't see an update from the gRPC Brigade, but I believe Aaron had a design session with Brian Thomas. And then he was starting up the calls for the gRPC Brigade. So hopefully they're making progress and can participate in the next sprint. Build and package. I believe Vishwa is flying home, but Brian, did you want to do an update on this?
So yeah, we had the kickoff for the brigade with our work week. Some folks were here in Menlo Park. We also had people dialing in from Europe and Arizona. So there's a link here for the meeting notes and also video recordings of all the sessions. We went through quite a lot around the build tools, artifacts that we generate, testing, release process, etc. So if there are people that are interested in that content, it should be recorded. We also identified some sort of short-term and mid-term work items. The JIRA tickets for the short-term items are here, but in general, it's going to be POM obsolescence by finishing getting Buck building all the source code. Some experimentation with repo by pulling in an app from app samples, and I believe we're going to try to do Mark's open roadmap because he wants to build that using Buck. We're going to try to get Jenkins pipeline jobs to do the Garrett verification. So that's currently in progress in a parallel Jenkins instance to give us some degree of isolation. And then there's some explorations around documentation. Still trying to figure out what types of documentation we want to produce and where those bits of documentation will live, and what the tooling or process looks like for those bits of documentation. So you should see these work items start to fold into the build and package brigade sprint. This next sprint, number 3, will be the first one for this brigade. I also wanted to call out 2 other fixes that came in on the build side. So there's this issue we've had for a while where when we roll the versions of the Buck plugins, it doesn't invalidate the rules that were built with the old versions of the plugins in the cache. We now have a fix that will invalidate old artifacts that were built with old plugins when new ones are rolled in. And there was also a problem with the Yang plugin. Depending upon if you got unlucky, there was a race condition. Depending upon, there's like 2 different types of dependencies that you can have on a Yang library, and depending upon which one came first, people were seeing some problems. So we also have a fix for that. So that's more or less the update there.
Okay, thanks, Brian. John?
Yes. So I got distracted when editing the slides, so I didn't quite finish the retrospective stuff. But basically what we did, we, as part of investigating the white paper and regressions to that, we refactored our intent reroute test and did some investigation to the regression in our topology scaling tests and intent throughput tests. We added system tests for distributed work queues and refactored the NetCFG test to make it easier to extend the test. There's also work going on to factor in and expand the intent functionality tests to include bandwidth allocation. And hopefully today or early next week, we'll close the task for building a Jenkins file for the scale and performance tests. So that's merged, but we're just testing in Jenkins. And then I guess as a retrospective, I think we did pretty well with the stories we pulled in. We tend to leave about 50% room for investigating bugs and debugging. So we spent some time looking at like some of these changes and Jordan's changes that aren't tracked in these stories, but took some time. So I think we did pretty well with that. If you go to the next slide. So bugs, we have 29 that were resolved, sprint, and 51 created for a total of 169 open. And then there's some bugs listed here. I think most of them are the same from last time. Some new ones, there's a topology scaling test regression I mentioned we were looking at earlier. And the resource manager, hopefully that's what, one of the things that Jordan is doing with transactions, hopefully that will be closed soon. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I'm not sure for which part Jordan was saying that things should go like 10 times faster.
I think that was with transactions, which is part of used by the resource manager.
So this won't involve the intent framework if the intent framework doesn't use the resource service, right?
Correct. I don't think we use transaction normally.
Okay. So 25% left is after our patches, or?
This I think is before.
I think that's your old space here.
Yeah.
So it happened a while ago, and I forget exactly the cause now, but we took some notes on it. So
Yeah.
Or the timeout, the one where you specify the timeout, you change the timeout. Is that one? The one we discussed also last time in the last sprint.
I think it's the one where we resubmit with
Yeah.
the same timestamp.
Yeah. So those that one. Okay. But for our patches, we check with E and everything is fine, right?
Yeah, I check with you.
Yeah. Yeah. E. Sorry,
Hello.
you.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know that at least we didn't affect.
I think a little bit of that because I put a sufficient effect.
Well,
so,
because we do something more, right? But that's fair.
Yeah.
But we have run our tests with those changes. I don't know the exact changes, but
Okay.
Anything else?
nope, that's it.
Okay, thanks, John.
Mhm.
Lisp, Jian?
Okay. In this sprint, we mainly focus on implementing the various northbound interfaces for this application, including REST and the CLI. So the details are as follows. So to realize REST, we put various like codecs into REPL. So the codecs including many like mapping related primitives like address and instruction, actions and key and value and so on. And also to serialize the extension mapping address into the JSON string, we supported to encode decode this JSON string in address interpreter. And we started work on performance assessment for LISP Subsystem. And the assessment work, this type of work were mainly done within the performance brigade. And we performed the stress test to assess the performance of map server for now, and it's shown that 2.5 millisecond average processing time with 200 map register message per second using the single thread. So more aggressive tests will also be performed, and the result will be reported soon with the help of the brigade, performance brigade. And we also done several optimizations to further improve the control message processing speed, and still it requires more assessment with throughout the experiments. Then we also augmented a provider service to query mapping value from the protocol layer. And finally, we added the CLI and the REST API to query mapping information. And the REST API part is still under the code review, and we are in the middle of implementing the GUI for mapping management application. So that's all we have in this sprint, and thank you.
Thanks, Jan. NETCONF. I don't think Andrea is on. Mark, did you want to go over this?
Yeah, no, I guess it's like 3 or 4 a.m.
Yeah, I guess these are really bug fixes that we saw while testing with a bunch of devices. I can't speak to like the actual content, but I do know we hit some bugs and we fixed them along the way. Some of the other ones are covered in the Packet-Optical slides. So. Okay.
And then updates from Hunsoon on the OpenStack integration. So they're going through and making a lot of changes here. Okay, and then Kingfisher. So Kingfisher Sprint 3 starts next week from the Kingfisher schedule. You'll see that we'll be starting Sprint 3. It's just 2 weeks long. Feature freeze, which means we're going to need to make sure that all the changes get in, reviews, and everything gets merged. Release is still targeted for May 31st. Sprint 3 planning will start on Tuesday at 3 p.m. So after this meeting, I'll close out all the sprints, create the new ones, and then folks can start populating them. Remember it's Tuesday, not Monday. And then just a note, thank you for all the retrospective comments. I want to make sure that we still focus on the fact that we're accomplishing things, right? So lots of deliverables. I don't want folks to think that this is meant to be critical or as criticism. I think there's a desire to make sure that the sprints represent what folks are delivering. So I think that was really more the intent, but part of it is just trying to understand if there were things that impacted delivery. For example, was ONOS not accounted for? So, right, so as we move forward and better understand kind of the dependencies, this will help us make sure that we're working together to plan these things appropriately. And then what we can do is we can have a larger retrospective meeting and see what we can do to address this. Okay. Any questions or comments?
None here.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Ian.
Thanks
everybody.
everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Hi.